Feels like we're on the edge right now. I wish that I could say I'm proud. I'm sorry that I let you down. Let you down. All these voices in my head get loud. I wish that I could shut them out. I'm sorry that I let you down. Let you down.
All these voices in my head, no. All these voices in my head. I'm sorry that I let you go. I'm sorry that I let you go. All these voices in my head, no. All these voices in my head. I'm sorry that I let you go.
Feels like we're on the edge right now. I wish that I could say I'm proud. I'm sorry that I let you down. Let you down. All these voices in my head get loud. I wish that I could shut them out. I'm sorry that I let you down. Let you down.
No, all these voices in my head, no, all these voices in my head, no. I'm sorry that I let you go. I'm sorry that I let you go. All these voices in my head, no, all these voices in my head, no. I'm sorry that I let you go.
Right, so we're here with the GT86 again. We filmed with GT86 quite a while ago now, but this one's a little bit different. Should we get going?
Yeah, let's go for it.
You've had this car since new, haven't you?
Yeah, so I had it since 2014. Got it on finance, which helped me get my dream.
Yeah.
So finance isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it started off, I've been following the car since its like early concept stages when Toyota kept playing with us. You know, 10 years I think it took from like the first concept to it actually coming into production.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
So as soon as it came out in like 2012, I was like, oh, I need to have one. And then in 2014, finally got the funds available, and then put down a deposit and got it there. So now, almost 5 years ownership now.
Yeah. So obviously it started standard because it has to.
Yeah.
The factory. So how long did you have it standard for?
Yeah, I actually had it standard a lot longer than I thought I would.
Well, they're awesome, aren't they? You know.
Yeah.
You know, let's face it. They came to glowing reviews. So it's a great fun car. So you ran it standard for quite a while then.
Yeah. So I think the good thing about the 86 is, of course, a load of people say it comes out of the factory without a lot of power, which is it is true. But I find a lot of people, they keep it in like the torque dip range. So you know, I think it's about 2,500 to 4,000. You've got that killer torque dip, which really kind of bogs down the car. So like daily driving, of course, you spend most of your time in that. So you know, the guys in the hot hatches and things like that, the Golf GTIs, you know, with the help of the turbos, they can pick up and get going quite quickly. So
but people weren't used to. That's the thing. That's what I was going to say. Although 200 horsepower was seen as not much, actually you know, I remember when the EP3 Civic came out, and it was headline figures, and it was like auto car. I remember it. I can still remember the headline today. It was like 200 horsepower, 0 to 60 in like 6.6, I think, or something like that. And it was like, whoa, 200 horsepower. That's insane. But like, that's the thing, because hot hatches in particular are to blame, because they've got like 300.
Yeah,
people sort of see a sports car come out with 200, and they say, oh, it's underpowered. But it's light as well, you know. And
that's the thing.
It's the fact that Toyota focused on a driving experience rather than, you know, specific numbers, so to speak. Sort of thing.
And that's one of the great things about the car in its standard form is even with the Prius Michelin HP Primacy tyres, you know, all low resistance, get the back end out. The car was so communicative. Probably pronounce that wrong.
It didn't matter so much. You weren't. Your focus wasn't how quickly can I do a drag strip or whatever.
Exactly, and I think that's the killer. That everybody that says, "Oh, the 86 is slow," they're basically racing people on like dual carriageways, motorways,
exactly,
things like that. And that's of course where you know, that's where they're weak. It is, you know, that weak spot. Because I remember watching a video of the, I think it was like the CEO or one of the head guys of HKS Europe, and in his video he was saying, if you're complaining about the power of the 86, you're obviously driving on roads that are too straight.
Because that's the same thing like with the old MX-5s and things like that. You just don't need... Okay, it's lovely. I'd love a really high-tuned one. But actually, when you're on a right, tight and twisty road, it just doesn't matter. You can't go much quicker anyway. It's like the old stories of when the original GTI Golf came out and it could keep up with the supercar on a back road, because you can't use the supercar on a back road sort of thing. You can, but not as much as you can use all of the GTI. Turn right down this.
That's precisely right. I mean, that's the good thing about the car. Like, it's even like I found when I first drove it, like the front end grip was very impressive. Like just out of the factory, it was very sharp. Like especially like on turning. Once you got to like high speed sort of stuff, then that's when you started to kick into with understeer. So I'd probably actually say that the first modification was actually probably the tyres coming off, getting onto some Pilot Sports, which dramatically increased like the front end grip. Like it made it much more grippier, better on the brakes.
It is true. Never underestimate tyres.
Big time. I mean, now that of course it's on wider wheels, wider tyres, the next step up from the smaller little bicycle wheels is a phenomenal increase. So what did you do originally then? You did your wheels and tyres. So wheels, tyres, it was actually exhaust, I think, was the first kind of like performance modification, which just completely changed the driving style of it, because they've got their little intake chamber in the engine bay to pump in some intake noise into the actual cabin, which was good, but then once you got the exhaust, you didn't really need it. So blocked that up, took it out, got of course an air intake, a little panel filter, and then that was it for a fair bit of time until then I wanted to start hunting more power and things like that. And that's when I went to get an equal length manifold from Tuning Developments. And that was that made a big difference, because the great thing about the manifold is on the NA package, it just completely eliminated the torque dip. That instantly changed the way the car drove. So you know.
So literally with the tune, was that a rolling road setup as well to do that, and then it literally smoothed out that curve sort of thing?
Big time. So it was Abbey Motorsport did the map for me and looked after me on that, and they did a great job with everything on it. I mean, it's got 4 map settings now that you can swap with the cruise control store. And just the power increase. Like, I felt the main bits that you noticed it was the low end and the top end rev range. Like, the middle was kind of it was good, but you really kind of felt it.
That's just a pheasant. I swear he's going to get killed on camera, but he didn't.
Can you imagine that? Well, you got some good footage on it. So then once that was, again, like when you're driving the car standard, the main bulk of the power is at about 6,000 RPM. So you really they were almost like a rotary. You have to buzz the hell off them to get them going and get them shifting. So once you know you're above that revs, you know, the pickup is a much quicker. It's got a lot more punch rather than you know, if you were to launch it from 2 to 3. I mean,
get rid of that dip.
I then got a some set of Tyne Flex A coilovers.
Right, okay.
And they, funnily enough, like, of course, they made it much more precise on the road.
Yeah.
You know, I thought it was pretty, you know, agile as it was.
It's been agile before,
You know, you just have that extra bit of flexibility, really kind of dial in the setup, because from the factory, I believe it was Toyota set them up that they were stiffer on the rear than they were on the front, to kind of promote more oversteer. So now I've kind of balanced it to much more softer on the rear, just to get a bit more rear end grip.
So it's a bit more neutral sort of thing.
Yeah, but the main reason that kind of edged me towards the Flex A's was the fact that they have a hydraulic bump stop as well.
Okay.
So like things like this on bumpy roads, like you can hear it, but you can't really feel it as much. So with potholes, you'll hear a massive thud, but it won't shake your bones, kick you up the backside. So in terms of like a daily driver,
it maintains that sort of
to a certain extent comfort.
Exactly. At the end of the day, we are jiggling a bit. But, But the thing is, a ride like this lets you know I'm going to go around a corner in a spirited fashion, sort of thing, you know. Exactly. And I'm always impressed. You do sit low in these. This is completely standard seat-wise and everything like that. So you do really sit down on the floor, and that makes a huge difference to your connection to the car and the way the way you feel your arse feels, basically. What's going on?
It's definitely one of the best driving positions I've ever been in, like with a road car. Like the MX-5, we've had a few like Mark 1s, and you know they're a great car to chuck around. But like the driving position with this, like as soon as you sit in it, you know,
more slotted in.
It just feels like it's ready for the track. And I mean the standard seats have quite a good bit of side bolster as well. So
they do.
They
do actually. They do. They're pretty good for support.
I think I read somewhere that the seating position was also designed so that when you're getting in and out of the car, you can stub your cigarette on the floor as you get in. So they wanted it.
I think they smoke a bit more in Japan, don't they?
So I think I could be completely wrong. It's the internet, but
exactly.
Kind of sounds plausible.
But so those were the main upgrades, so to speak. But then it wasn't. Well, a little while afterwards, before you got a certain it that begins with an T and ends in an O.
I think it was early January. I think it was that I saw the HKS Turbo kit get announced for the car.
Right. Okay.
Now I've got.
So previously they had a supercharger kit.
They did, yeah. So they had. I think they had 3 versions of it. So they put a lot of time and development onto it, getting it, you know, perfected. But for me, being the Japanese car turbo, it kind of puts 2 and 2 together. And I just have like fond memories of, you know, growing up with Gran Turismo, having the HKS cars.
That's it.
Definitely. So it's kind of like a brand that I've grown up with, and it's as soon as I saw it, I was like,
exactly. So it's got 300 horsepower as run on a dyno. This isn't just 300 horsepower.
So it's 300 at the fly, and I think it equates to about 200 because our dyno goes straight to the hubs when I got it done at Abbey. So I think from the actual hubs it's 258, which equates to basically around 300 at the fly. And
there must be an awful lot more torque as well, being forced induction now.
I mean, definitely. Like, I feel one of the bits that I felt the increase in the torque when it's not, you know, absolutely gunning it, is definitely just going up hills and things like that. Like, it just feels like it just pulls the car along a lot nicer, a lot more smoother.
So it's HKS Turbo, and what sort of PSI is it running?
7 PSI is what it's at.
So it's quite light sort of thing. So it's not laggy or anything like that. So I mean, it's fairly
It's very, very responsive turbo. I mean, you know, it spools up just like that, and especially I think it kind of kicks in at about 3.5k. But if you're kind of above that already, it spools up even faster.
Right. Okay.
So I mean, it's at 7 psi, so not a massive amount of boost.
But it's your daily as well, isn't it? So you want to keep it reliable as you can and usable sort of thing.
And that's one of the great things that Abbey did is, you know, we had a chat about, you know, the end goal. What do we want to do? We could have got closer to the 325, 350 mark. But the thing is that would then be playing with a fine line of reliability.
Right, okay,
the guys there said, you know, if you were tracking the car and you weren't using it as your daily, then it would probably be alright to run that power. But the killer is, you know, kind of the 6 gear on the motorway, you pull
That's
into
really
gear to
interesting, yeah,
overtake.
because you don't think of cruising along on a motorway, overtaking someone as the way you're going to kill your car.
Yeah, yeah.
You think more thrashing it on a circuit, but so
Yeah.
it's actually using less abuse, you know, doing a second to third gear pull
Yeah.
than sitting in sixth, as you say, and thinking,
Yeah.
oh, I'll boost past this person.
Yeah, that's when it, you know, it
That's
puts
insane.
most of the
Yeah.
strain on the conrods, because that's unfortunately the weak bit about the
Right,
86. The horsepower the turbo's rated to is about 450, 480
Yes,
brake.
yeah, that's right, yeah.
So you know, there's plenty more from the
Yeah.
turbo itself. So that's why, you know, only at 7 psi is, you know, barely
Yeah.
running anything that the turbo is capable
Yeah,
of.
okay.
It's just the conrods that are limiting
Reserve,
it
yeah.
and injectors. So
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of, you know, like the next steps to get more horsepower, it does mean, of course, forging the engine. But
Right, yeah,
then,
yeah.
you know, once you start getting into 450 brake,
Yeah,
the car only weighs about 1,200 kilos. So,
So yeah, they're about 200 kilos, aren't they? So actually, you know, as a JDM fanboy from years gone, actually, like if you think of the original Supra, I say the original, the Mark IV Supra was probably about 1,500 or so kilos with 320 odd horsepower. So if you've got 1,200 with 300,
Yeah.
you know, 1,200 kgs with 300 odd horsepower, 6-speed manual, and a turbo power engine, you're probably not far off the rest of it. In fact, favourable,
yeah.
I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, of course, I've had a couple of races with a few friends in some of their cars, and the 86 has surprised a lot of people now because, it's just so light. Like,
yeah, exactly, yeah.
You know, as a package, that's just the great thing about the 86 is it comes to you, it's very much standard. You know, you kind of learn the car in that standard form, and then you can just change so much about it. I mean, one of my friends who's very much into like all the German cars, he's got a Golf R. He's learned to appreciate this car more, in fact, because on Instagram he sees like all these different ones, like track spec ones. Some are slammed, some are for like, you know, drifting, hill climbs, rallying. You know, it seems to be, you know, something that the car can do. It can do anything really.
Right, let's see if we can get
A little
okay,
blast.
need a bit of space.
That should be enough. Here we go.
It's actually savage.
Yeah.
It's mental. It pulls really, really strong.
Yeah.
That's really
So
amazing.
strong.
Yeah, bloody hell. That's a well different car than than the standard. I was going to say to you, so how much of its character is maintained and things? Does it feel to you? You can't go back to getting in the car when you first got in, but when you progressively go along, you progressively go along mentally as well. But does it feel like the same car, just faster, or does it feel like a completely different animal?
Yeah, I'd say it feels a lot more raw, I think is the best way to describe it, especially with the coilovers. It makes it feel like, you know, you've really got to kind of work the car a little bit more. And that's kind of the way I wanted it. You know, it's great when it's standard, but coming from racing and everything, like I'd like the car just to be a little bit more aggressive. Which then in turn, you know, makes it, you know, you get a better feel of the car. You can kind of push it a little bit more, and overall, you know, just feels a bit more race car really, and that's you know, that's one of the main reasons.
It does pull really nicely. It just seems to be quite a strong pull all the way through as well, not sort of, you know, where you wait and then it's going to sort of kick in or whatever. It felt pretty, you know, consistent sort of thing, and
that was another bit trying to play into the reliability side is the guys at Abbey, they mapped it in so that the boost came in as smoothly as possible, just to be that little bit extra easier and gentler onto the conrods themselves.
Whack all of a sudden, there's a load of power coming, because that's the thing, I suppose torque is as much of the killer, you know, with regards to all the standard stuff like the gearbox, clutch and things like that. So the other thing is this car obviously being made at, you know, 1,200 odd kilos and a naturally aspirated 2 litre, they've given it probably, I'm presuming, fairly tight close gear ratios and things like that to make it, and you've still got that, but with 300 horsepower. And how many pound-foot of torque now, or is it Newton meters?
Off the top of my head,
somewhat.
It's a fair amount.
More than before.
Good 100, I think about 100 Newton meters more. There we go. I'll do a little blast here.
You can't beat the turbo noise even, can you? It is Gran Turismo again, isn't it?
It's a proper JDM flutter.
The thing is, like, you know, actually turbos you know, in the early period were considered something you really wanted.
Yeah.
And then they've gone from, now all cars have them. It's like, oh, I really want like a natural aspirated car to get the noise and everything like that. Because modern turbos are really efficient.
Yes.
So, but then when you hear this, it still sounds amazing. You've got a racy engine noise still, you've got turbo noise still, you've got exhaust noise still, presumably because it's done by an aftermarket tuner, not a manufacturer on a rolling road inside a closed building trying to work on emissions and all the rest of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good thing as well is if I put it onto map number 3, that's like the kind of party mode.
Okay.
So this is the one that's got flat foot shifting on it.
Right,
so now you can like really bang through the gears. All you do is keep your foot flat to the floor, don't lift, clutch down, bang into gear, and then pull the clutch back up again.
Right, okay, mega.
So give it a little blast again.
Yeah, it's mega. It's mega. It pulls really hard still at the top. It feels like it could go on, sort of thing. It doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't sort of.
Kind of weaves.
Yeah. Kind of. A lot of times when you've got a modern turbo car, a number I've driven in the past, they'll pull really cleanly, and then at the top end you don't need to hit the red line. You can change maybe 1,000 or whatever below, because it kind of doesn't do anything else after above about 6 or whatever. But this seems to pull all the way to sort of 7.5 or whatever. So yeah, that's impressive. Kind of got that NA sort of pull at the top end still.
I mean, that's
as well as muscle.
It's
That's awesome.
still got a very much, you know, it feels very similar in terms of power delivery wise.
Yeah.
It's very similar, just better because you've got more power everywhere. You haven't got that torque dip.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the only time when you really kind of notice the turbo in maybe a bit of a negative way is, of course, when you're mid-corner, you give it some and then the turbo kicks in mid-corner.
Right, and all of a sudden you've got an awful lot of torque on those back wheels.
Sometimes it can kick the back end out, which can be very fun. Sometimes it can be a little bit scary when it catches you off guard.
I was going to say, is it frightening, or is it... The thing is, we'll say here, Alex can drive. You have had, you know, a spell doing various championships and things like that. So, so you probably are more aware than your average Joe, so to speak, or myself. but yeah, it can still catch you a little bit, but yeah. I mean, the main, much more so than standard sort of thing.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because
so standard, they're just really pliable and a bit like an MX-5 and such, but a grown-up MX-5.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing is, like, even with the coilovers, you know, it's still very much. You know, it tells you when it's losing grip, and it's still very progressive. You know, it's not like
snappy.
You know, all of a sudden no grip whatsoever. It is really progressive, so you can either kind of, you know, work with it and have it kind of like in a 4-wheel drift, or just ease off a little bit and just regain that rear with traction.
Well, you've still got the inherent balance of your, you know, core chassis, your front engine, rear drive, weight distribute. I can get it out eventually. Distribution. Working for you, because you know, I've had years ago I had a Mark 1 MR2, and that was awesome. But you had the pendulum effect, and you had to worry occasionally about, you know, all of the weight being behind you, and if you got a bit too silly, you weren't going to be able to stop that weight getting behind you and coming in front of you. Sort of thing. So
yeah, I mean, like, as the car itself, I mean, it's, you know, like everyday driving, it's very docile. I mean, that's the great thing about it in its current form is, you know, as soon as the turbo kicks in, it's an animal. But you know, just cruising around town, it's very docile, and I'm glad. Like, that was one of my concerns when I got the turbo, was how it was going to be when it was losing traction.
And
even like when it's wet. It still is very smooth, like, you know.
But you did increase the tyre size.
Did do that, recently.
But still, I mean, most people, they're still not colossal. I mean, what size have you got on the rear now?
It's 245 all round.
Okay. Oh, 245 all round. Okay.
Yeah. So a load of people just keep them as the.
So they're big tyre, but it's not insane. Like our 3 Series, it's got 265s on the rear. You know, that's factory.
It's funny, isn't it?
Sort of thing. So and probably not. No, not as much power or torque. It's like 260 brake. I don't know what torque is, but yeah, exactly. And more master shift.
Yeah, and I mean,
but
the difference, of course, going from like 215 to 245, like corner by corner, you know, there's 30 mil more tread, and one of the issues it had beforehand was like first to second gear shifting. You know, it was very easy to just break traction immediately, especially in the wet. I mean, in the wet, it will be happy to wheel spin into the third gear and keep going some.
So it's improved it somewhat to increase those tyres, but
yeah, and I mean the main thing that I found as well amazing about having these wider tyres is again it just seems to be every modification that's done wheel suspension wise is emphasised more on the front end. Like the rear keeps planted. Like every modification it's done, it's kept the rear really balanced. But the most difference I've found is with the front end. Yeah. So like just it feels like, you know, you put a little input into the steering and it seems to have a greater effect. And again, like when you're pushing harder, the initial turning and the bite with the tyres as well is just far greater. You know, there's been a couple of times when it's kind of caught me out on corner entry because it's turned in a lot sharper than I thought.
Well, it's been a pretty awesome experience. Well impressed. I can't believe how hard it pulls, but you know, like you say, it's still a GT86, so it's just on steroids. Yeah,
and I mean, funny enough, the boring bit is the miles per gallon as well. Hasn't massively been affected.
Oh, has it?
I mean, right now,
because you're not on boost, I suppose, so much at the moment. Yeah.
Problem is though, as soon as you start accelerating and you hear the turbo start to spool up, you're like, let it go a little bit harder.
But so you're doing 28?
Yeah, so 27.8, and that's of course with a few pulls, daily driving, and just in general.
You can't complain, man.
And I mean, on the motorway, I have had it record like 40 mile per gallon plus. So you know, on long journeys, as long as you don't hit boost,
as long as you're gentle,
it's still, you know, such a good like daily driver. I mean, you know, it can just do everything it's got,
but it can still bend your face.
Big time. And especially like on launch. I mean, I've got it in the party mode now. I mean, I won't launch it here, but with party mode, it does have launch control. So you put first gear, I'll keep the handbrake on because we're on a hill, just foot flat on the floor, and it worked.
That sounded good though.
Yeah, that's because I was in map number 2.
Right, okay.
So here we go, so map number 3, into first gear, you hear the turbo, then it spawns it up for you.
Savage. We're going to have to record that from the outside as well. Okay, so I think we've done a good discussion, a good chat about this car. We'll get some drive-by shots from the outside and things like that, and see if we can cover the you know, get some of the sound from outside. Yeah, exactly. Hopefully people can hear it on board as well. But so thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.
It's like